Animal Farm by George Orwell. On Manor Farm, life for the animals was one of unending toil under the rule of Mr. Jones, a farmer whose neglect and drunkenness mirrored the very nature of human exploitation, as Old Major, the prize middle white boar, often lamented. Respected for his age and wisdom, Old Major one night summoned all the animals to a clandestine meeting in the barn. Under the dim glow of a lantern, casting dancing shadows, he shared a powerful dream. A vision of liberation where animals would be free from the tyranny of man, masters of their own destiny and the fruits of their labor. He passionately declared man to be the enemy, the sole source of their misery, and instilled in them the stirring anthem, Beasts of England, a song that promised a golden future time. Old Major's revolutionary words, echoing in the hushed barn, ignited a spark, especially in the intelligent pigs. Among them Snowball, with his vivacious energy and inventive mind, Napoleon, a large, imposing Berkshire boar known for his quiet ruthlessness, and the silver-tongued Squealer, a master of persuasive rhetoric, took Major's dream to heart. They distilled his ideas into a coherent philosophy, which they termed animalism, and began to secretly preach its principles to the other animals, holding clandestine meetings after Mr. Jones had succumbed to his nightly stupor. Initially, they faced considerable resistance. Some animals, dulled by years of servitude, struggled to grasp the concept of freedom or questioned their loyalty to Master Jones. Others, like the vain Molly, were more concerned with superficial comforts like sugar and ribbons than abstract ideals of liberty. Moses the raven, with his fanciful tales of Sugar Candy Mountain, offered a different kind of escape, a heavenly reward after death, distracting some animals from the earthly struggle for liberation. Yet, the pigs, driven by their own aspirations and the undeniable injustices of their current lives, persevered, slowly converting the more thoughtful animals like the cart horses, Boxer, and Clover to the cause. The opportunity for rebellion arose unexpectedly, not from grand strategy, but from Mr. Jones's deepening neglect. One midsummer's eve, his drinking reached new depths, and he and his men failed to feed the animals. Driven to desperation by gnawing hunger, a cow, with a powerful thrust of her horn, shattered the door of the store shed. The starving animals surged in, seeking sustenance. Mr. Jones and his men, roused from their drunken slumber, rushed to the scene with whips, attempting to brutally restore order. But this time, the animals, fueled by pent-up resentment and collective desperation, turned on their tormentors with a ferocity born of long suffering. In a chaotic, unplanned uprising, they butted, kicked, and chased Jones and his men off the farm, liberating themselves in a moment of exhilarating, unforeseen triumph. Overwhelmed by the euphoria of freedom, the animals celebrated their victory, renaming Manor Farm to Animal Farm, a testament to their new sovereignty. They eagerly set about dismantling the symbols of their past oppression, burning whips and chains, casting bits and nose rings down the well, reveling in the destruction of the tools of their enslavement. Led by Snowball, the most literate of the pigs, they inscribed the 7 commandments of animalism on the barn wall, a simple yet profound code intended to ensure equality and prevent the resurgence of human-like tyranny. Whatever goes upon 2 legs is an enemy, declared the first commandment, while the last proclaimed, all animals are equal. In the initial months, Animal Farm flourished. The harvest was unprecedentedly successful, driven by the animals' newfound sense of purpose and collective ownership. They worked harder than ever, yet felt a joy in their labor, knowing it was for themselves and their comrades, not for the benefit of a cruel master. Sundays became days of celebration and planning, marked by the raising of the green Animal Farm flag and the spirited meetings in the barn, where Snowball and Napoleon, though ostensibly united, began to reveal their diverging visions for the future of the farm. Subtle shifts in power dynamics began to emerge, however. The pigs, with their superior intellect, naturally assumed positions of leadership, often directing the labor of others while contributing little manual work themselves. Privileges, initially justified as necessary for leadership, began to accrue to the pigs. The mysterious disappearance of the milk, followed by the announcement that it, along with the windfall apples, would be reserved solely for the pigs, sparked murmurs of discontent. Squealer, with his dazzling oratory, skillfully quelled any dissent, arguing that these special rations were essential for the pigs' brainwork, the very foundation of the farm's well-being, and strategically invoking the ever-present threat of Mr. Jones's return. The growing rivalry between Snowball and Napoleon became increasingly apparent, particularly during the meetings. While Snowball, the idealistic visionary, championed progress and innovation, symbolized by his fervent advocacy for the windmill, Napoleon, the pragmatist, focused on immediate gains and consolidating power, voiced skepticism and opposition. The windmill debate became a proxy for their deeper power struggle, dividing the farm and highlighting the fundamental differences in their leadership styles. Snowball, with his eloquent speeches and detailed plans, initially held sway over the animals' imaginations, painting vivid pictures of a technologically advanced animal farm, where labor would be minimized and leisure maximized. Napoleon, less charismatic but more cunning, worked behind the scenes, cultivating the loyalty of the dogs and quietly undermining Snowball's influence. The Sunday meeting, where the windmill vote was to be held, became a decisive moment. Snowball, in a passionate and persuasive speech, swayed the animals to his side, his vision of a 3-day work week and electric stalls captivating their weary hearts. But just as victory seemed assured, Napoleon unleashed his secret weapon, the 9 ferocious dogs he had secretly trained from puppyhood. In a brutal and shocking display of force, the dogs chased Snowball from the farm, effectively silencing dissent and establishing Napoleon's unchallenged authority. With Snowball banished and branded a traitor, Napoleon swiftly consolidated his power, abolishing the Sunday meetings and establishing a dictatorial regime. The windmill, once fiercely opposed by Napoleon, was now declared his own idea, stolen and sabotaged by Snowball. The animals, initially bewildered and fearful, were gradually indoctrinated by Squealer's constant propaganda and the ever-present threat of the dogs. Napoleon is always right became Boxer's unwavering maxim, echoing the blind faith and unquestioning obedience that characterized the new order. Life on Animal Farm under Napoleon's rule became increasingly arduous and unequal. The animals toiled relentlessly, driven by the promise of the windmill and the ever-receding dream of a better future. Rations were repeatedly reduced, save for the pigs and dogs, while Squealer relentlessly presented fabricated statistics to prove that production was soaring and life was constantly improving. The 7 commandments, once sacrosanct, were subtly and systematically altered, twisted to justify the pigs' growing privileges and transgressions. No animal shall sleep in a bed became, no animal shall sleep in a bed with sheets, as the pigs moved into the farmhouse and claimed the human beds for themselves. No animal shall drink alcohol, morphed into, no animal shall drink alcohol to excess, as the pigs indulged in the farmhouse's hidden stores of whiskey. History was rewritten, Snowball demonized, and Napoleon elevated to a godlike status, credited with every success and shielded from any blame. The second windmill, built with immense sacrifice and suffering, became a symbol of the animals' misplaced faith and enduring exploitation. After its completion, it was not used to generate electricity and improve their lives, but to mill corn for profit, further enriching the pigs. Its destruction by Frederick and his men, in a treacherous attack after a fraudulent timber deal, shattered the animals' hopes once more and led to the bloody Battle of the Windmill. A Pyrrhic victory that left the animals weary, wounded, and bereaved. Boxer, the epitome of loyalty and hard work, remained steadfast in his devotion to Animal Farm and Napoleon, even as his health deteriorated under the relentless strain. His tragic fate epitomized the ultimate betrayal of the rebellion's ideals. When he collapsed from exhaustion, expecting a well-deserved retirement, he was instead sold to the knacker, his life's labor ending not in peaceful rest, but in a glue factory. Squealer, with his characteristic mendacity, spun a comforting lie about Boxer's noble death in a hospital, further solidifying Napoleon's control and manipulating the animal's grief. Years blurred into decades, and Animal Farm transformed beyond recognition. The original revolutionaries aged and died, replaced by younger generations who knew little of the rebellion's initial promise. The pigs, walking upright, carrying whips, wearing human clothes, and engaging in trade and social alliances with neighboring farmers, became indistinguishable from the very humans they had once overthrown. The Seven Commandments, the cornerstone of their revolution, vanished entirely, replaced by a single chilling maxim: all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. In the final, haunting scene, the animals, peering through the farmhouse window, witness the ultimate betrayal. Pigs and humans feasting and toasting together, their faces indistinguishable, symbols of complete corruption and the cyclical nature of power. Animal Farm, once envisioned as a utopia of animal liberation, had become a mirror image of the oppressive Manor Farm, a stark testament to the corrupting influence of power and the fragility of revolutionary ideals. The dream of Animal Farm had become a chilling, dystopian reality. If you enjoyed this book breakdown, please consider liking this video and subscribing to get notified when we post our next book.